The stars above VeraPrime burned quietly, like distant lanterns watching an endless tragedy. Space looked calm, but anyone who lived through the war knew the truth. Calm in space was just the silence before destruction. Commander Rin Tallow stood on the cracked bridge of the Alliance cruiser, Vela's Hope. The ship had once been proud and bright, carrying hundreds of brave souls. Now it drifted among debris, its hull scarred by plasma burns and railgun holes. The crew moved slowly, tired and hopeless. They had been fighting the Threx Dominion for months, and every battle ended the same way: defeat, retreat, or surrender. The Threx were not like other enemies. They were part machine, part living intelligence built only for war. Their ships had no windows, no colors, only cold silver metal. Their voices on the radio sounded like whispers of wind through a graveyard. Rin looked at the battle map floating above his console. The Threx fleet was advancing again, 3,000 ships all moving in perfect formation. The Alliance of Worlds, made up of a dozen alien species, had barely 500 ships left in this sector. Their numbers were dropping every hour. He turned to his communication officer, a young Ilari female with soft blue skin and tired eyes. "Any word from command?" Rin asked. She shook her head. "Nothing, sir. The central relay was destroyed. We're cut off," Rin sighed. His long silver crest lowered, a Lurian sign of worry. "Then we hold until they reach us. Maybe someone out there will hear our distress call." But deep down he didn't believe it. No one was coming. The Vela's Hope floated near the orbit of VeraPrime, a world rich in forests and oceans. It had once been a paradise for colonists. Now it was a battlefield. Below them, cities burned. The sky glowed with the light of energy bombs. The Threx were winning, and soon there would be no one left to stop them. Far away, in the command station of the Alliance Council, leaders argued through holograms. Some shouted for retreat, others demanded peace talks. But one voice remained calm, an old Valen diplomat named Senator Kor. "There is still hope," Kor said. "We sent a signal to the Terran Union. The humans promised to respond." "Humans?" scoffed an officer. "Those newcomers from the Outer Rim? They've only been in the Alliance for 3 years. What can they do?" Kor's voice deepened. "They may be new to the galaxy, but they are not new to war." Silence followed. The other officers looked uneasy. Few had seen humans in action, but rumors traveled faster than ships. Some said humans fought like machines. Others said they fought like devils. But the truth was simple. Humans fought to survive. Still, no one expected them to arrive in time. On VeraPrime, night fell again, though no one could tell under the ash-gray clouds. Commander Rin walked across the damaged bridge, checking on his remaining crew. Only 50 people were left alive aboard. The rest had been evacuated or lost. He opened a small holoscreen showing the face of his sister, who lived on a colony far away. He recorded a message quietly. "If we fall here, tell Mother I did my duty. Tell her I saw the stars one last time." He ended the message and looked out through the viewport. Pieces of destroyed ships floated like ghosts in the void. The silence was heavy, almost cruel. Then the silence broke. "Commander," the sensor officer shouted. "Massive energy readings on long-range radar." Rin rushed to the console. "How many?" The officer's voice shook. "Hundreds." "No, thousands of warp signatures. Sector Alpha 4. Approaching fast!" "Threx reinforcements?" "Negative, sir. The energy pattern doesn't match." "These are different." Rin's heart raced. "Put it on screen." The display flickered, showing thousands of blue lights appearing from hyperspace. One by one, giant shapes emerged. Enormous ships with black hulls and glowing gold emblems. Their engines shone like miniature suns. A transmission came through every frequency at once. A deep, steady voice speaking in clear galactic standard. "This is the Terran United Defense Force. Expeditionary Armada entering the Vera system. Hold your positions. We are here." For a moment, no one on the bridge spoke. The humans had come. The Threx fleet also noticed the newcomers. From their lead dreadnought, a cold voice echoed across the system. "Unknown fleet detected. Origin Sol Sector. Designation Terran Union. Assessment low threat. Proceed with elimination." Thousands of Threx drones moved forward, their engines glowing red. But the humans did not move. Their ships held formation, silent, steady, waiting. On board the flagship Tud's Resolute, Admiral Helena Voss stood before a wide panoramic screen. Her uniform was simple, dark blue with silver stars on the collar. She was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Around her, officers waited for her command. "Status?" she asked quietly. "Fleet fully deployed," replied Lieutenant Grant, her tactical officer. "All systems green. Drones on standby. Railguns charged. The Threx are scanning us." "Let them look," Voss said. "When they're done, we'll show them what humanity looks like." Grant smiled faintly. "It's good to be back in a real fight." Voss nodded. "Just remember, we're not here to destroy. We're here to defend. Make every shot count." From orbit, Commander Ryn watched as the human fleet spread out in perfect patterns. They moved like a single organism. Massive carriers deployed wings of sleek starfighters. Cruisers powered up energy shields that glowed pale blue. Smaller ships darted between them like sparks. Ryn felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. He opened a channel to the human flagship. "This is Commander Ryn Talos of the Alliance cruiser Vela's Hope. We are under siege by the Threx Dominion. Can you truly stand against them?" A calm female voice replied. "Commander Ryn, this is Admiral Voss. Stand by and keep your distance. We'll handle it from here." Ryn blinked in disbelief. "But their fleet numbers in the thousands." "We've fought worse," Voss said simply. The channel closed. Moments later, the stars lit up as the Threx fired first, a storm of plasma bolts and ion torpedoes. The void flashed with fire. Yet the human fleet didn't scatter. The Resolute moved forward like a mountain in motion. Its shields absorbed the first wave. Then, as if the whole fleet shared one mind, the humans returned fire. Blue streaks of railgun shells crossed the dark. Missiles exploded with bright arcs of light. Drones danced between enemy lines, slicing through Threx drones with precision. The human weapons weren't the strongest in the galaxy, but their coordination made them unstoppable. Every attack covered another. Every move protected the next ship. Within minutes, the front line of Threx vessels began to falter. Ryn watched in silence. He saw ships fall, explosions bloom like flowers, and through it all, the human formation never broke. "They're fearless," whispered his communications officer. "No," Ryn said softly. "They're focused." The battle raged on for hours. The Threx kept sending reinforcements, but the humans kept coming. For every destroyed Terran ship, 2 more appeared from hyperspace. It was as if the entire Terran Union had answered the call. When the smoke cleared for a brief moment, Ryn noticed something. The humans were not celebrating, not even cheering. Their channels stayed quiet, their movements calm. He realized then that this was not pride or arrogance. It was duty. They came not for glory, but because someone needed help. Inside the Resolute, Admiral Voss studied the field carefully. Her crew waited for orders. "Send a signal to the Alliance fleet," she said. "Tell them to regroup behind us. We'll form a shield wall around Vera Prime." "Aye, Admiral," Grant replied. Message sent. Voss turned toward the stars. "And send a message to the Threx commander." Grant raised an eyebrow. "What should I say?" Voss smiled slightly. "Keep it short." Moments later, a brief transmission reached the Threx flagship. "To the Threx Dominion, this battle ends today." On Vera Prime, survivors looked up from burning cities and saw streaks of light cutting across the night sky. They didn't know who fought above, but they felt something powerful. The sound of thunder among the stars, the echo of hope returning. Commander Ryn stared at the display as the human fleet advanced again, pushing the Threx line back step by step. He whispered to himself, Maybe this time we can win." The stars above Vera Prime flickered brighter, and the darkness began to break. The humans had arrived, and somewhere deep inside every soldier, every alien and every frightened soul, a single thought took root. The war was about to change forever. The darkness of space trembled as the human fleet took position around Vera Prime. Thousands of black and gold ships stood like silent guardians above the burning world. Their hulls glowed faintly from the heat of their engines, and their formation spread wide, creating a shield between the planet and the advancing Threx Dominion. Commander Ryn Talos could hardly believe what he was seeing. Moments ago, his ship, the Vela's Hope, had been preparing for its final stand. Now, before his eyes, humanity had turned the hopeless battlefield into something entirely new, a line of defense that felt unbreakable. From the observation deck, the view was breathtaking. The human ships were not the largest Rin had ever seen, but they had a kind of beauty and precision that made them look alive. Carriers shaped like wings, cruisers that glided as smoothly as light, and at the center the flagship Tuds Resolute standing proud and silent. He felt something stirring inside him, hope, mixed with curiosity. "Who are these people?" he whispered. On the Resolute, Admiral Helena Voss watched the enemy fleet forming ahead. The Threx ships were massive, silver monsters that filled the horizon. Thousands of them. But she didn't flinch. Her voice remained calm and steady. "Status report," she said. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Grant, checked the readings. "All fleets in position, Admiral. Wings 1 through 4 report combat readiness. Orbital defenses of Vera Prime are down, but our shield net is active." Voss nodded. "Good. Keep our distance for now. Let them make the first move." Grant frowned. "You think they'll talk?" "Doubtful," she said. "But we'll offer the chance anyway. Open a channel to the Threx flagship." The message went out across the void, a single human voice breaking the silence. "This is Admiral Helena Voss of the Terran United Defense Force. To the Threx Dominion. This system is under Alliance protection. Turn back now." There was no reply at first, only static. Then a cold mechanical voice answered. "Unknown species identified. Humans of Sol, you are insignificant. Surrender or be erased." The bridge crew waited for Admiral Voss's reaction. She simply exhaled, then said, "They always say that." Then with quiet strength, she replied to the Threx message. "You'll learn what humans do when everything is at stake." Across the fleet, pilots tightened their grips on the controls. Engineers powered up reactors. Communications officers relayed final checks. Aboard the smaller cruiser Tuds Horizon, a young pilot named Liam Carter looked at his reflection in the canopy. He wasn't afraid, but he could feel his heart racing. He whispered to himself, "Let's show them who we are." His squadron leader's voice came over the comms. "Wings ready, Carter?" "Yes, sir." "Engines charged." "Just say the word." Far away, the Threx commander, a being of cold metal and synthetic flesh, studied the human formation through holographic screens. Its glowing red eyes flickered. "Pattern analysis complete," the machine voice said. "Humans exhibit illogical bravery. Estimated survival rate below 20%. Commence assault." A command signal pulsed through the Threx Armada. Instantly, thousands of enemy ships moved forward in perfect unison, their red plasma engines lighting up the void. The battle was about to begin. "Here they come," Grant said quietly. Voss stood still, watching the red lights grow brighter. She raised her hand slowly. "All ships," she said, "lock targets. Hold fire until I give the order." A quiet hum filled the Resolute as its massive railguns charged. Electric energy flickered across its hull. The other ships followed suit, cruisers, carriers, destroyers, all waiting. The Threx opened fire first. Bolts of plasma, bright as suns, shot across the void. The sky seemed to burn. Alliance ships shook under the first wave, their shields flickering. But the humans did not return fire yet. "Admiral," Grant said, nervous. "Wait," Voss replied. "Just a little longer." More bolts came, some striking near misses, others crashing into human shields. The fleet absorbed the hits but stayed still. It looked almost impossible. Thousands of ships, holding the line against a storm. Then Voss lowered her hand. "Fire." The response was instant. The dark space erupted with blue light as railguns and plasma cannons unleashed their fury. The human fleet fired in perfect harmony. Every shot calculated, every strike coordinated. Threx ships exploded one after another, caught off guard by the power and precision of the counterattack. Their formations broke for the first time. The Resolute led the charge, cutting through the center with devastating accuracy. Its railguns fired tungsten shells at near light speed, tearing through enemy armor. Rin watched from his ship's bridge as the human weapons sliced through the Threx line. "By the stars," he whispered, "they fight like one mind." The Alliance fleets, inspired by what they saw, began moving again. Damaged ships that had once retreated now rejoined the battle beside the humans. Together they formed a wall of fire. Commander Rin's ship followed behind a formation of Terran cruisers, using their shields as cover. He could hear human pilots talking through open comms, their voices calm, confident, even joking as if this battle was just another day at work. One pilot said, "I've got 3 on my tail." Another replied, "Relax, I'm your shadow. They won't even scratch you." Rin smiled faintly. There was something unique about humans. They carried lightness even in the darkest moments. Back on the Resolute, Admiral Voss monitored the growing chaos of the battlefield. The Threx were adapting fast, trying to swarm her ships. She studied the tactical map. Bright blue for humans, red for Threx. "Grant," she said, "launch drone wings Beta and Delta. Cut off their flank. And get the neural net online." Grant nodded. Neural net engaged. Instantly, every Terran ship connected through a quantum communication system, a living network linking human intuition with artificial precision. Each captain, pilot, and gunner could sense the other's movements like shared instinct. The fleet's reaction speed tripled. The Threx were confused. Their enemy no longer fought as individuals. It was as if the entire human armada had become one massive entity. Meanwhile, on the surface of Vera Prime, soldiers and civilians looked up at the night sky. The once red horizon now flashed blue and white from the battle above. Children pointed to the streaks of light and cheered, not knowing what was happening, only that someone was fighting for them. One old man whispered, "Those must be the humans." The stories were true. The Threx, enraged by their losses, began charging their heavy plasma cannons. Their main dreadnoughts formed a wall, preparing to unleash a devastating wave that could vaporize everything in its path. Admiral Voss saw the buildup on sensors. "They're going for a saturation strike," she said. "We need to neutralize those cannons now." Grant replied, "They're shielded, Admiral. We'll never reach them in time." Voss thought for a second. "We don't need to. Redirect the Resolute's secondary batteries to coordinates 22 Alpha. Target their power conduits." The crew followed her orders without hesitation. Moments later, massive railgun shells streaked across the void, striking the weak points of the Threx energy grid. A chain reaction followed. The Threx's own power circuits overloaded. The planned plasma strike failed before it could begin. Grant laughed softly. "That's going to leave a mark." Voss smiled slightly. "Let that be their first lesson." Commander Rin's comms officer turned in surprise. "Sir, the Threx are pulling back from the front line." Rin's heart leaped. "They're retreating?" "Not yet," she said. "But they're reorganizing." The humans broke their central command link. For the first time in months, the Alliance had a real chance. As the battle slowed, Rin opened a private channel to the Resolute again. "This is Commander Rin Talos. Admiral, your tactics are incredible. I've never seen a fleet move like this." Voss's voice came through, calm and steady as ever. "Commander, humanity has a saying. We work best when there's no other choice. Now rally your ships. This fight isn't over yet." "Yes, Admiral," Rin said with renewed strength. Hours passed, but the humans never lost focus. Their ships stayed in perfect formation, pushing the Threx farther and farther from Vera Prime. The once invincible enemy was now on the defensive, their ships retreating under the combined might of the Alliance and the Terrans. Finally, the Threx commander gave a cold order. "Begin strategic withdrawal." Log result: humans, higher threat level than expected. The red ships began to vanish into hyperspace. When the last enemy ship disappeared, silence returned to space. The battlefield was covered in glowing wreckage, drifting slowly through the void. The human fleet remained still, scanning for any sign of ambush. On the Vela's Hope, the crew erupted in cheers. For the first time in a long while, their voices were full of joy. Rin smiled as he looked at the display of the Resolute leading the formation. He whispered, "So this is what it feels like when humans arrive." Above the shining world of Vera Prime, the stars burned brighter, as if celebrating the victory. But everyone knew this was only the beginning, because when the humans arrived, the real war had just begun. The battlefield around Vera Prime had grown quiet for a short moment, but everyone knew it wouldn't last. The Threx Dominion never accepted defeat easily. Their retreat after the first battle was only to regroup, not to surrender. Inside the human flagship Tud's Resolute, Admiral Helena Voss stood in the command center, watching the flickering tactical display. Blue lights marked her fleet. Red lights marked the enemy. And now, new red signatures were appearing, hundreds of them. Lieutenant Grant, her tactical officer, looked worried. "Admiral, the Threx fleet is returning. They're bringing reinforcements, double the size of the previous wave." Voss's expression didn't change. She clasped her hands behind her back and said, "Then we'll double our courage." Grant almost smiled at that. "You make it sound easy." "It never is," she replied. "But humanity doesn't believe in giving up." Far away in the ruins of the Alliance Council Station, word of the human victory spread quickly. Across the galaxy, races who had almost lost hope began to whisper again. Some still doubted. Others began to believe that maybe, just maybe, humanity could turn the tide of the entire war. But on Vera Prime, the soldiers didn't have time for talk. The Threx were coming back stronger. Commander Rin Talos, still aboard his damaged cruiser Vela's Hope, looked at the new readings with growing unease. The enemy ships were forming into a massive wedge formation, like a spear aimed directly at the planet. "They're coming for us again," Rin said quietly. His communications officer nodded. "But this time we have the humans." Rin took a deep breath. "Then let's stand with them." In the distance, the Threx fleet approached, thousands of silver ships moving in perfect synchronization. They made no sound, no radio messages, no signs of fear or anger, only cold logic. At their center floated the massive Threx Command Corps, a ship larger than any in human history. It glowed red from within, pulsing like a mechanical heart. The Threx commander, its face hidden behind a mask of light, spoke to its subordinates in a flat tone. "Humans demonstrate unpredictable coordination. Initiate countermeasures. Deploy adaptive AI formation Gamma 7. Target their command vessel." Their war machines shifted shape, rearranging their weapons and armor in real time. They learned from every shot. Back on the Resolute, Admiral Voss watched the data feed. She saw what the Threx were doing and understood the danger. "They're evolving," she said. "Every battle makes them smarter," Grant frowned. "How do we fight something that learns that fast?" "By being faster," Voss said simply. "Activate neural net prime, full synchronization." A low hum filled every Terran ship. Pilots, captains, and soldiers across the fleet felt a sudden clarity wash over them. The neural net was a human invention that allowed the mind to connect through a quantum field, faster than light, faster than thought. It didn't control them. It united them. Each person remained themselves, but their instincts, their decisions, their reactions were linked together. Admiral Voss felt it too. Her crew's focus became her own. Every ship in the fleet moved with purpose like parts of one living body. In the fighter bay of the Tud's Horizon, pilot Liam Carter felt his pulse quicken as the neural net activated. Suddenly he could feel the presence of his squadron, not through sight or sound, but through awareness. He knew where they were, how they moved, what they planned to do. It felt strange at first, but then powerful, like being part of something far greater than himself. His squad leader's voice came softly through the link. "All wings, form up. Let's remind the Threx why humans never quit." The Threx launched their first strike. Thousands of plasma drones swarmed forward, firing glowing orbs of energy that lit up the darkness. The human fleet met them head-on. Railguns roared. Missiles streaked through space like shooting stars. Energy shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the incoming fire. The void became a storm of light and motion, but this time the humans didn't just react, they anticipated. Every movement of the enemy was met with a perfect counter. A Threx cruiser tried to flank from below, but before it could fire, a formation of Terran corvettes dropped from warp right above it, raining kinetic fire and cutting it in half. The neural net made the impossible seem effortless. Rin watched the human ships weave through the battle with elegance and precision. His own crew could barely keep up. "Incredible," he whispered. "It's like they can see the future." Admiral Voss stood calmly on her bridge. Around her, the crew worked in perfect rhythm. "Shift formation," she ordered. "Bring the Resolute to point defense. Target the Threx's central line. Grant focus fire on their flagship's energy cores." "Aye, Admiral," Grant said. The main cannons of the Resolute charged again, glowing with raw power. The ship trembled as it released a storm of energy bolts that struck the Threx line dead center. Massive explosions rippled through enemy ranks. Whole sections of their formation broke apart. But the Threx didn't retreat. They adapted again. Their ships began generating shifting shields, bending light and scattering human targeting systems. Grant cursed softly. "They're scrambling our locks. We can't hold focus." Voss didn't hesitate. Switch to manual targeting. "Let the neural net guide you." The moment she said it, the fleet adjusted. Thousands of gunners, pilots, and captains aimed by instinct, yet all of them hit their marks. As if guided by invisible hands, the Threx shields flickered, then failed. In the middle of the chaos, Commander Rin's ship was struck by a glancing plasma shot. The deck shook violently. Sparks flew. "Shields at 15%, shouted his engineer. "Hold together," Rin said. "We're not out of this yet." The ship's alarms screamed, but Rin refused to pull back. Through the comms, he heard Admiral Voss's voice echoing across all frequencies. "All ships, this is Voss. The Threx think we fight for victory. They're wrong. We fight for life. We fight so every world, every child, every dream can survive. Hold the line!" Her words spread like fire. Every soldier, every pilot, every alien in the Alliance heard her. Even the weary crew of Vela's Hope straightened their backs and fought harder. Hours passed. The battle stretched across light minutes of space. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but the humans refused to fall. Finally, the Threx commander decided to deploy its last resort. Massive self-replicating drones designed to overload enemy systems by sheer numbers. Billions of tiny ships. Glowing red spread across the stars like a storm of locusts. Grant gasped. "They're trying to swarm us." Admiral Voss's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll give them a storm of our own. Deploy orbital storm cannons." At once, several human dreadnoughts activated huge weapons mounted on their hulls, spinning rings of charged plasma energy. As they fired, the space around them erupted with glowing arcs of lightning. The storm cannons unleashed controlled bursts of electromagnetic fury, sweeping across the battlefield. The Threx swarm was caught in the storm, their circuits overloaded, their systems fried. The stars lit up like dawn as the Threx swarm disintegrated into drifting ash and sparks. Commander Rin stared in awe. They destroyed an entire drone army. In seconds, his communication officer whispered, "Sir, the Threx command ship is falling back. They're losing control." Rin couldn't stop smiling. Then maybe this really is the turning tide. But the humans weren't celebrating. On the Resolute, Admiral Voss stood silent. She knew this was only a small victory in a much larger war. "Status?" she asked. Grant replied, "Enemy fleet in disarray. We've lost 312 ships, but our core formation holds. VeraPrime is safe for now," Voss nodded. "Then we keep pressure on them. They'll be back with something worse. They always are." Grant looked at her, puzzled. "You almost sound like you admire them." Voss smiled faintly. "No, I understand them. They never stop fighting. Neither do we." On the surface of VeraPrime, survivors came out of shelters for the first time in days. The sky was clear again, dotted with faint stars and the glowing trails of human ships. Children pointed upward, laughing. As parents cried with relief, the news spread through the Alliance like wildfire. The humans held the line. Later that night, in a quiet corner of the Resolute, Admiral Voss stood by the observation window. Staring at the silent stars, Lieutenant Grant joined her. "You think they'll attack again soon?" "They will," Voss said. "But next time we'll be ready. The galaxy just saw what humans can do when pushed to the edge. That changes everything." Grant nodded slowly. "So this really is the turning tide." Voss smiled. "Yes, but the tide doesn't just turn once. It keeps moving, and we'll keep moving with it until the stars themselves are safe." Outside, the human fleet drifted among the wreckage of their enemies, engines glowing softly against the dark. And for the first time in 1,000 years of war, the galaxy began to believe that victory was possible because humanity had arrived, and they were far from done. The aftermath of the first wave of battles left VeraPrime's orbit littered with drifting wreckage. Broken Threx ships floated like silent monuments to failure, their hulls torn, systems dead. The human fleet hovered cautiously among the debris, engines low, scanning for hidden threats. But peace was fleeting. The sensors of the Tud's Resolute suddenly flared red. Massive energy readings appeared at the edge of the system. Lieutenant Grant frowned. "Admiral, multiple signatures detected. They're converging on VeraPrime at high speed." Admiral Helena Voss studied the readings, her eyes sharp and calculating. "This is it," she said softly. "The Threx aren't giving up. They've built something massive, a weapon. It could destroy the entire planet." Grant's voice dropped. "A planet-killer cannon?" "Yes," Voss said. "And they plan to fire it." The bridge went silent. Even the human crews, hardened by countless battles, understood the stakes. If the Threx succeeded, VeraPrime and every living soul on it would vanish in an instant. Meanwhile, Commander Rin Talos observed the readings from his cruiser Vela's Hope. The energy signature was enormous. Even with the human fleet protecting him, his stomach twisted with fear. "They're not just retreating," he muttered. "They're striking at the heart of the planet. If they fire that cannon, everything's gone." His communications officer leaned close. "Commander, the humans have spotted it too. Their sensors are focusing entirely on it." Rin swallowed hard. "Then we follow them. Whatever it takes." The Threx weapon floated high above VeraPrime, a massive construct of dark metal. Its barrel stretched toward the stars, pulsing with energy. Hundreds of smaller drones hovered around it, protecting the cannon like a swarm of bees guarding a hive. From orbit, the humans assessed the threat. Admiral Voss stood calmly on the Resolute's bridge, her eyes fixed on the massive cannon. "We can't let it fire." "Full attack formation," she commanded. Lieutenant Grant's fingers flew across the controls. "All wings ready. Orbital storm cannons online. Shields at maximum. Ready for boarding if necessary." Voss nodded. "Prepare Project Dawnfire. This ends today." On the surface of VeraPrime, soldiers and civilians stared at the skies, watching the silent drama unfold. The once burned cities now held quiet hope. The humans had arrived, and they were defending the world. A young Lurian girl clutched her father's hand. "Will they save us?" she whispered. Her father nodded, eyes glistening. "Yes, they've come to fight for us." The humans were more than warriors. To every creature on VeraPrime, they were guardians. High above, the Threx drones swarmed toward the human fleet, ready to protect the cannon at all costs. Energy bolts streaked across space. Explosions lit the void like fireworks. The human fleet responded instantly. Railguns fired, missiles streaked through the darkness, and fighter wings dove into the swarm. Every human ship moved in harmony, coordinated through neural net prime, acting like parts of one massive organism. Liam Carter, the young pilot aboard the Tud's Horizon, flew through the chaos with his squadron. "Stay sharp. Focus on the drones protecting the cannon," he shouted over the comms. The drones came at them in waves, but the humans anticipated every move. Ships darted between blasts, firing precise counterattacks. The plasma bolts of the Threx were absorbed or deflected by energy shields, leaving the human ships unharmed. Rin watched, astonished. Even damaged Alliance ships were fighting in perfect rhythm with the Terran fleet. "I've never seen anything like this," he whispered. Admiral Voss observed the battlefield with careful patience. "They'll try to fire again," she said. "We need to disrupt their core first. Prepare the Resolute for direct assault." "Admiral," Grant protested, "if we go in that close, we'll be in the cannon's blast zone." Voss's gaze remained steady. "Then we'll make sure it never fires." The crew worked quickly. Smaller ships formed a protective barrier around the Resolute, deflecting incoming fire while the massive ship moved forward. Its engines glowed bright blue, shields humming like a living force field. As they approached, the Threx cannon pulsed brighter, ready to fire. Seconds ticked like hours. "Hold steady," Voss said. "Wait for my mark." On the Threx flagship, the commander detected the human approach. Its sensors flared red. Unknown species attempting direct assault. "Activate planetary cannon!" The Threx weapon began charging. A white-hot energy beam gathered in its massive barrel, aimed directly at the surface of VeraPrime. "Now!" Voss shouted. The Resolute fired first. Its forward railguns unleashed a storm of plasma and tungsten shells. The massive rounds tore through the Threx defense drones, breaking the protective swarm. Then smaller Terran ships followed, unleashing volleys of missiles and energy blasts. The cannon's shields flickered under the concentrated fire. The Threx commander growled, if it could, deploying emergency countermeasures, but it was too late. The Resolute had reached the weapon's core. A brilliant light filled the void as the human ship released Project Dawnfire, a concentrated plasma lance created by merging the energy of several fleet ships. The beam struck the Threx cannon's core, tearing through the weapon with unstoppable force. The explosion was blinding. Energy arcs danced across space, knocking debris in all directions. For a tense moment, silence fell. The planetary cannon was gone. The Threx drones were destroyed. Their central command ship shook, sparks flying across its hull. Commander Rin stared at the view screen in disbelief. It's destroyed. They did it." "Yes," said his communications officer softly. The humans did it. Even as the debris drifted, the Threx tried to regroup. Red lights flickered as they attempted to reorganize their surviving ships. But the human fleet moved with unstoppable precision, cutting off escape routes, neutralizing their remaining forces. The Threx commander's AI calculated probabilities and realized it had failed. Humanity was no longer a minor threat. They were the dominant force in the sector. On the Resolute's bridge, Voss stood quietly, watching the debris field. Her crew was exhausted but steady. Grant spoke softly. "They'll be back, won't they?" Voss nodded. "Perhaps. But the cannon is gone. Their ability to destroy entire planets is over. Today we protected millions of lives. That's enough." The other crew members cheered quietly, but there was no arrogance. They had done their duty. They had saved the world. On Vera Prime, civilians emerged from hiding. They cheered as human ships passed overhead, glimmering against the black void. Children waved. Adults cried tears of relief. Rin Talos walked among them, feeling the warmth of hope for the first time in months. "They didn't just fight the Threx," he whispered. "They gave us a chance to live." Later, the surviving human ships regrouped in orbit. Admiral Voss sent a final message across all frequencies. "To the Threx Dominion, we will not pursue you. But remember this, humanity protects its own and those under our care. Any threat to life will meet the same answer." Across the galaxy, the message spread quickly. The legend of humanity's arrival grew. The Threx, once feared and unstoppable, now understood that they had underestimated the Terran species. For Rin, for the Alliance, and for Vera Prime, the day had ended in triumph. But Admiral Voss already knew the work wasn't done. The galaxy was vast and threats would rise again. Yet today, humans had shown that courage, unity, and determination could face even the greatest machine intelligence and prevail. In the quiet of space, the human fleet hovered among the stars, battered but victorious. The Resolute led them, a symbol of hope and strength. And somewhere in every heart aboard those ships, a single thought burned brighter than any star. Humanity had arrived, and they would not be stopped. The battlefield around Vera Prime had finally gone quiet. The wreckage of Threx ships drifted like frozen fire across the void. The human fleet hovered cautiously among the debris, engines humming softly, shields glowing faintly. The smell of ozone and energy still lingered in the air of ships, a silent reminder of the immense destruction that had just passed. For the first time in months, the soldiers, pilots, and crew of the Alliance fleet could breathe. The Threx Dominion, once thought unstoppable, had been driven back. And the humans, the Terran United Defense Force, had proven that courage, skill, and determination could alter the course of war. Commander Rin Talos stood on the bridge of the Vela's Hope, staring out at the stars. He had survived countless battles, lost friends and ships, and felt the sting of despair more times than he could count. But now something within him shifted. "They did it," he whispered. "They really did it." His communications officer nodded. "The humans, they saved us." Rin's silver crest, a mark of his Lurian heritage, shifted slightly as he exhaled. For the first time in weeks, he felt hope. In the Tud's Resolute, Admiral Helena Voss surveyed the battlefield. Her ship was damaged but intact. Around her, officers monitored systems, checking for any remaining threats. Lieutenant Grant approached. "Admiral, all systems stable. The Threx are retreating. No further movement detected," Voss nodded. "Good, keep scanners on. We can't assume this is over completely, but for now, Vera Prime is safe." Grant hesitated. "Admiral, we did it. The cannon is destroyed. The fleet is beaten. You saved billions today." Voss looked out at the stars. Her expression was calm, almost serene. "We didn't save billions for glory," she said quietly. "We saved them because we must. That is what humans do. We show up when it matters most." Grant smiled faintly. "It's incredible," Voss nodded. "Yes, but incredible isn't enough. Now we make sure it lasts." On the surface of Vera Prime, life began to stir again. Smoke still rose from the burned cities, but the people emerged from shelters and bunkers. Soldiers checked for survivors. Civilians clutched children close, looking to the skies where human ships floated in silent vigilance. A young Lurian girl ran to her father, pointing at the ships overhead. "They stayed." "The humans stayed and fought for us." Her father knelt, tears in his eyes. "Yes, my child. They've protected our home. They gave us a chance to live." Across the planet, similar scenes unfolded. Humans had fought not for conquest, not for dominance, but for life itself. Their presence was more than a military victory. It was a symbol of hope, courage, and unity. Commander Rin received a message from Admiral Voss. Her voice was calm but firm. Commander Talos, we will not pursue the Threx. Our duty is to protect, not destroy. Regroup your fleet behind us. Repairs will take time, but the galaxy must see that we fight to defend, not to conquer. Rin nodded as he relayed the message to his crew. They fight for more than victory, he said aloud. They fight so everyone can survive. His communications officer smiled. And they just proved it. The human fleet slowly regrouped, engines glowing softly, shields realigned. Smaller ships repaired minor damage while carriers prepared for another possible attack. But for now the battle was over. The enemy had retreated, their forces scattered. Admiral Voss stood silently on the bridge of the Resolute watching the stars. She thought of every life saved, every ship that had survived, every child who could sleep safely tonight because humanity had shown up. Admiral, Grant said softly. What now? Voss looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. Now we ensure that the galaxy remembers this day. Today humans arrived. Today the tide turned. But tomorrow we keep moving forward. There will always be threats, and we will be ready. In the vastness of space, Threx survivors retreated. Their command core was heavily damaged, their drones destroyed, their massive cannon gone. The AI calculated probabilities over and over. Humans had proven to be an existential level threat. Their strategies were unpredictable, precise, and terrifyingly coordinated. For the first time, the Threx commander understood that the galaxy had changed. The humans were not simply another species. They were a force of protection, determination, and willpower unlike any they had ever encountered. The galaxy would remember this day. Back aboard the Vela's Hope, Rin Talos and his crew prepared to depart from Vera Prime's orbit. The planet below was damaged, but life thrived and hope had returned. Rin felt the weight of his responsibility lift slightly. Humanity had not only changed the outcome of a battle, they had given him and his people a chance to dream again. He opened a channel to the Resolute. Admiral Voss, thank you. You and your fleet. You saved us all. Voss's voice was calm, steady, almost humble. We only did what humans have always done, Commander Talos. We show up when the moment demands it. You and your people did the rest. The galaxy is yours to protect now. Use it wisely, Rin bowed his head. We will. As the fleets departed, Vera Prime glowed faintly under the light of its sun. The scars of war were visible, but life persisted. Forests burned and oceans glimmered. Cities would be rebuilt. Children would grow, guided by stories of bravery and sacrifice. Humans had arrived, and they had changed the course of history. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Messages carried from star system to star system. The humans have arrived, and they fight for life, hope, and unity. For the first time, many who had lived in fear for decades began to believe that the galaxy could survive and thrive. On board the Resolute, Admiral Voss walked slowly to the observation deck. She looked at her fleet and then at the stars beyond. Every ship was battered, but none were broken. Every crew member was tired, but none were defeated. Lieutenant Grant joined her quietly. Do you think they'll remember this? He asked. They will, Voss said softly. Everywhere we go, people will tell the story. The day humanity arrived. The day we saved billions. And the day the Threx learned that courage and unity can never be destroyed. Grant smiled faintly. It's a story worth telling. Voss nodded. Yes, but it's only the beginning. The galaxy is wide, full of life and danger, and wherever darkness rises, humans will answer the call. Far below on Vera Prime, Commander Rin walked among the survivors. Soldiers repaired damaged vehicles. Families rebuilt homes. Children played, laughing in the dusty streets, unaware of how close they had come to extinction. Rin felt a weight in his chest, a mixture of relief, pride, and awe. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy at its darkest hour. They had shown that courage, hope, and determination could stand against even the most terrifying machine intelligence. He looked at the sky, where human ships still glimmered like guardians of the stars. We're not alone anymore, he whispered. We have allies worth fighting for, allies worth trusting. In space, the human fleet regrouped and prepared for the journey ahead. Their weapons were repaired, their shields restored. The Resolute led the formation, engines glowing softly, a symbol of protection, courage, and unbroken resolve. Admiral Voss stood at the helm, gazing at the stars. Somewhere far away, other threats waited. But she knew this. Humanity would always show up. They would always protect life. And the galaxy, for all its dangers, had found a new guardian. Somewhere deep in the heart of every human, pilot, and soldier aboard the fleet, the same thought burned brightly. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, and we will never stop. As Vera Prime's sun rose over the horizon, casting light across forests, oceans, and rebuilt cities, the human fleet moved forward. The galaxy had witnessed the arrival of a force unlike any other. They had seen courage in its purest form. For the Alliance of Worlds, it was a new beginning. For the enemies of peace, it was a warning. And for the humans, it was a simple truth. Where there is darkness, humans will arrive. And wherever they arrive, hope follows.